If you're looking for beautiful summer nails that can last up to 21 days without sun and gel, let me show you exactly how I do my Green Flash manicure from start to finish. This summer, I couldn't stop wearing the Manucurist jelly shades. I absolutely loved the collection and honestly, I wore it non-stop. But before going on holiday, I wanted something that would last even longer, so I switched back to Green Flash. Before starting a new manicure, it's time to remove my previous one. To take off Sugar Plum, I'm using the green nail polish remover, which is specially formulated for the green range. It does take a little more patience than a traditional remover, but that's actually one of the reasons I enjoy using it. Because it's oil-based, it feels incredibly gentle on my nails. Instead of leaving them dry or stripped afterwards, they always feel soft, nourished and healthy. Before every manicure, I always spend a little time prepping my nails properly. Whether I'm using the Manucurist Green Flash system, the Manucurist Green range, or simply applying a nail treatment, my prep routine is always exactly the same. It might not be the most exciting part, but it makes such a big difference in how clean the final manicure looks. I always start by gently pushing back my cuticles before applying the cuticle softener. If your cuticles tend to get dry or rough, like mine sometimes do, this step is honestly a game changer. The gel texture softens the skin beautifully, making it much easier to clean the nails area without being harsh. I simply apply it around the cuticles, leave it on for about 2 minutes, and then gently clean everything using a wooden cuticle stick. I also like removing any dead skin from the sides of my nails, because I really don't like when that area feels rough. I always want my nails to look and feel as clean as possible before applying any polish. Once that's done, I file and shorten my nails a little. They had grown quite a bit, and before doing a Green Flash manicure, I actually prefer starting with slightly shorter nails because after 3 weeks they'll naturally grow much longer. Then I lightly buff the surface to smooth out any uneven areas and help create the perfect base for the manicure. Once all the prep is finished, I wash my hands really well. Lately, I've been adding one extra step before every manicure, and it's made a much bigger difference than I expected. I started using the press bond repair nail treatment because my nails used to split quite a lot, especially once they got a little longer. I was really curious to see if it would actually make a difference, so I decided to give it a try. It's designed to help repair the nail from within and strengthen brittle nails. So now I apply it to clean bare nails before every new manicure. The texture is very lightweight at first, but after a few minutes, it almost looks as you've applied a nail oil. So I like leaving it on for about 10 to 15 minutes before moving on with my manicure. The brand recommends using it every day, but realistically, I almost always have my nails painted. So instead, I use it every time I remove my previous manicure and before applying a new one. Even though I haven't been using it daily, I've still noticed a big improvement. My nails don't split nearly as much as they used to, so it's definitely become a step I don't want to skip anymore. To be honest, nail prep is probably my least favorite part of doing my nails. It takes the most time, and it's definitely not as fun as choosing a new color. But every single time I finish prepping my nails, I'm reminded why it's worth it. Everything looks cleaner, the polish applies so much better, and the final result always looks more professional. That's actually why I usually split everything into 2 days. I do all the prep the day before, leave the press nail treatment on overnight, and the next day I can simply enjoy doing my manicure. The next day, I lightly buff my nails one more time to create a perfectly smooth surface and help the products adhere even better. Now let's start the manicure. I'm using the vitamin base coat, applying one thin even layer and always capping the free edges. It's a tiny detail, but I found that it really helps improve the longevity of my manicure. Once that's done, I cure it under the lamp before moving on to the color. One question I get asked all the time is why some people experience chipping or why their Green Flash manicure doesn't cure properly. And honestly, from my own experience, it usually comes down to 2 things. The first is applying layers that are simply too thick, and the second is not curing each layer properly. I also noticed a huge improvement after upgrading from my old 24-watt lamp to the 36-watt lamp. Everything cures faster, more evenly, and I feel much more confident that every layer is fully set. No matter which color I'm wearing, I always cure the base coat, every color layer, and the top coat for the full recommended time. I also prefer painting 4 fingers first and curing my thumb separately. It only takes a little longer, but it helps prevent the product from pulling along the sides of the nail. Now it's time for my favorite part, choosing the color. For this manicure I picked Wisteria, one of my absolute favorite shades for summer. It's the most beautiful soft lavender that somehow manages to feel fresh, elegant and playful all at the same time. I also love how versatile it is. It looks just as beautiful with casual everyday outfits as it does with dressers summer looks, so it's definitely one of those shades I keep coming back to every year. Before I start applying it, I actually want to share something, because I know a lot of you are trying Green Flash for the first time. The very first time I used this system, my manicure manicure was honestly a complete disaster. I applied way too much product because I treated it like a regular nail polish. And that's exactly where I went wrong. Green Flash works a little differently, and once I understood that, everything became so much easier. So, if your very first manicure isn't perfect, don't get discouraged. It really does get easier after a couple of applications. What works best for me now is keeping the layers as thin as possible. I always wipe one side of the brush before applying the polish so I have better control over the amount of product. Then I simply flow the color over the nail using even strokes. It might seem like a small detail, but it completely changed my results. The polish applies much more evenly, cures better, and gives a much cleaner finish. Once the first coat is applied, I cure it under the lamp before moving on to the second layer. Then I repeat exactly the same process with the second thin coat. This is when the color really comes to life and you start seeing that beautiful glossy lavender finish. Another question I get asked quite often is how many layers I usually apply. For this manicure, I'm using 1 layer of vitamin base coat, 2 thin coats of Wisteria, and 2 layers of Xtrem Flash top coat. I found that using 2 thin layers of Xtrem Flash makes the manicure feel even stronger, gives it a fuller gel-like finish, and helps it last even longer. Now it's time for my favorite product in the entire Green Flash system, Xtrem Flash top coat. If there's one product that completely changed my experience with Green Flash, it's definitely this one. It gives the nails that beautiful glossy gel-like finish, adds a little extra thickness, and for me personally, it noticeably improves how long my manicure lasts. One question I get asked is whether it feels like salon gel once it's cured, and honestly, yes and no. It definitely makes my nails feel stronger and more resistant while I'm wearing it, but compared to salon gel, it still feels much lighter and more flexible. Personally, that's exactly what I like about it, because my nails still feel natural instead of overly thick. When applying Xtrem Flash, I always try to keep the layers thin and controlled, just like with the color. I use a few gentle swiping motions to spread the product evenly over the nail, making sure to not flood the cuticles. And before curing, I always clean any excess product around the edges, because that tiny step really helps prevent lifting later on. Once I finish the 4 fingers, I repeat exactly the same process on the thumb and cure it separately. Another question I often see is whether you need to wait a few minutes after curing before touching anything. Personally, I've never needed to do that. As long as the layers are thin and each one has been cured properly, my manicure is usually completely set as soon as it comes out of the lamp. One thing I do like doing is curing the roll hand one extra time once I finish the top coat. If the surface feels perfectly smooth and completely dry afterwards, then I know everything has cured properly. Once everything is cured, I like cleaning around the edges using the corrector pen. With Green Flash, you do need to press a little more firmly compared to the regular green polishes, but it still makes it so much easier to achieve really clean edges. One thing I absolutely can't stand is dry looking cuticles. Even after spending all this time prepping them, they always seem to get a little dry by the next day. That's why I never skip cuticle care once my manicure is finished. Lately, I've been reaching for Serum Complete because it's incredibly lightweight, absorbs really quickly, and gives my cuticles plenty of hydration without leaving that oily feeling. I still love using a traditional cuticle oil as well, especially when my cuticles need a little extra nourishment. So for me, they're the perfect combination. Serum Complete for hydration and cuticle oil whenever my nails need some extra care. And of course, no manicure feels complete without a little hand cream. It's lightweight, absorbs really quickly, and leaves my hands feeling soft without any sticky residue. I always feel like it completes the whole manicure. And here's the final result. Beautiful glossy lavender nails that honestly look just like a fresh salon manicure, but done completely at home in around 30 to 40 minutes. One of the biggest reasons I keep coming back to Green Flash isn't just how beautiful it looks, it's how practical it is. I can wear my manicure for up to 3 weeks without having to think about it, and when it's finally time for a new color, removing it is so much easier than traditional salon gel. When I'm wearing Xtrem Flash, I usually leave the remover clips on for around 10 minutes. If I'm using the regular Green Flash top coat, around 2 minutes is usually enough. For me, the whole system simply feels lighter, gentler, and much more flexible than salon gel, while still giving me that beautiful glossy finish I love. If you'd like to try Manucurist for yourself, you can save 15% automatically at Manucurist US, UK, and Europe when you shop through my links below. No code needed. Europe is finally available too, so simply choose your location using the links in the description, and your discount will be applied automatically at checkout. Everything I use for this manicure is linked in the description below if you'd like to recreate this look yourself. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye bye!